excited for our inaugural Fireside chat with our chairman of our advisory board, as I like to often refer to, but more importantly, my friend, Mr. Dick Batchelor. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
So we're really excited to highlight the advisory board members that have been so kind to give us their thought leadership and their time and their support and share their thought leadership that I'm always so lucky to receive on a regular basis with all of our clients and partners and with the community. So today we're going to pick your brain, sir, on our local growth and here in Central Florida, but as well as Florida, and even maybe some macro comments today. And knowing that you have such a storied career and such a history, I know we could probably talk all day. We'll try to keep it brief and in the interest of time for all, but looking forward to pick your brain.
Thank you.
Great. And so, as many of you listening know, Mr. Batchelor here is a former member of the Florida House of Representatives and has over 5 decades of political experience. He's got just such an intimate knowledge of the political landscape on all levels. And what I really love the most is his ability to bridge public and private. So, talking business and finance and M&A, but also translating it into what our local economies and what our local communities, both at the state and micro local level, need in order to support that and how to actually get things done. I would say the biggest learning I have in working with you, sir, is just how you're able to always be a connector and bring folks together that you wouldn't have thought could be or should be in a room together, but when they are, lightning strikes, and then you find that things get done. And I think that's been one of the secret sauces to your storied career over, as you put it, the last 50 years. So, with all that said, let's jump into today's topic of growth, which is, I always say, growth takes many meanings. And so today I think we're going to talk a little bit about hyper focus in on our local community growth here across the I-4 corridor and in Central Florida and perhaps the state of Florida. When you look at Central Florida today, over the many years that you've lived here and been a public servant here and even been in the private sector since, what feels fundamentally different to you, when you think about the growth and the differences that you've seen?
We see most of the growth, I guess, took place after 1972 when Disney was coming to Orlando. Before that time, Orlando was a sleepy little town. To the west of us was nothing but orange groves between West Orange County and Claremont, Florida. Now it's all developed. So obviously, by Disney coming here, now they currently employ 66,000 people, 77 million visitors last year, which is a great indicator. And also, if you look at our airport, which was McCoy Air Base when I used to fly out of it, to Tallahassee, and now they're doing tens of millions of passengers a year, and it's up over last year. So those are good indicators that the local economy has grown exponentially. But I think Disney was the precipitator of most of that growth, and then Universal came in and SeaWorld came in, and all the jobs they created there, and the hotels industry came in, hospitality industry came in, people employed in that area. So I would say that being a tourism economy still in this economy is a very good thing. And we outperform others of the country when the economy might be down a little bit, jobs might be down a little bit, and this market is still a growth market.
For sure, thriving and that catalyst of population growth, like you said, starting in the 70s with Disney, but subsequently, and that tourism growth has really spurred the businesses locally that are needed to serve it and all of those people. I say you have to have the waste management to take out all that trash. You got to be able to clean the facilities. You have to be able to house them all. You have to be able to give them medical treatment when they're here and they're sick, and all of the above. So you've really seen the local economy grow across a wide variety of industries outside. You know, it started with hospitality, but it's really grown into to many product and service subsectors. But certainly,
Another one is, I'm sorry, my
no, please.
apologies. I was on a bank board, and recently we had a retreat with our international owners, and we had the state's CFO, Chief Financial Officer, come present to us, and he was basically saying over the next 20 years, Central Florida is the growth market. That's expansion, and what he includes that is another industry that I knew because I was here during the first space shot. And now look at
Mm,
the privatization of NASA, the
mhm,
space, and
mhm.
Musk and others. And they're having, what, 6 or 7 rockets go up a week or something like that. So if you look at the defense industry and the other manufacturing components that support the space industry, there's a lot of job creation in defense and also the space industry. So behind Disney and the tourism sector, I would say that the space industry is growing exponentially. It's just unheard of how it has grown. So they're still in our market, and so the space industry is another contributor to the workforce exponentially.
For sure. And the what a difference in this the type and the skill of that workforce too, which is I think particularly unique as well. I mean, again, you need all those infrastructural things. I would say the picks and shovels, the stuff that you have to have, but then the different type of talent that is coming to our state and relocating to be a part of that, especially as space and AI and all of this kind of next wave of technology starts to become more and more intertwined with one another. It's really fascinating to watch and see and be a part of.
And the workforce is important too. Obviously,
I think.
we're very fortunate here to have the University of Central
Mhm.
Florida here. We're the second largest university. It started out as Florida Technological University when I was there some years ago, and the intent was it was to be located between Orlando and Brevard County. It was a technological university starting to train for the space industry. Now it's a liberal arts school, second largest in the country, as I mentioned.
Mhm.
You've got Seminole College, Valencia College, you've got Rollins College. So the point I'm trying to make is that getting prepared for the workforce, we've got a great higher education system to prepare people for the workforce. So if you combine all that together, the economy in Central Florida looks good. The economy in Florida looks very, very good. And again, sometimes nationally, there might be indicators might be down a little bit,
Sure.
but Florida is always ahead of that growth.
Indeed, indeed. From our perspective, we always see acquirers and investors hungry for opportunities in Florida because it's a state that's continually growing, and all of our KPIs seem to be on the up as compared to a good chunk of the rest of or most of the rest of of the country for sure. So anytime we have something based in Florida, folks are perked up and wanting to first seat at the table for that. You've always been a big proponent of and supporter of children and education. Tell me a little bit about that kind of personal mission for you. What do you, and I'm taking it based off of your comment on UCF and education. I think growing the talent locally, right, is going to be a key to continuing to feed the talent need. But it starts probably with our primary education.
Yeah. I grew up in the public school system in Orange County, and then I went to Valencia College when I got back from Vietnam. I had the GI Bill, yay. And then I went to FTU with the GI Bill. So I grew up in the public education system from the K through 12 up into with my university degree. So I've been a big proponent of public education. In fact, the business community kind of talking about bringing people together. We had a proposal to increase the sales tax by half a penny, which was desperately needed at the time in 2002. And the tax is still in effect, by the way. But in 2002, we had 178 schools in some state of disrepair in Orange County. Some were literally falling down. There was no funding otherwise. So we went to the voters and said, will you support a half a penny sales tax to build new schools and rebuild these old schools? And it passed by a very substantial margin. But that brought together Democrats, Republicans, the unions, the Chamber of Commerce, and all. But it was one of those things where the community set aside other issues, convened around something they agreed on, passed it in 2002, again in 2013, and again in 2024. So that half penny sales tax has now raised over $4 billion to build schools. So I'm a big supporter of public education, and so that was a testament again how the community will set aside issues they don't agree on and convene around things they do agree on.
Agreed. And one of the areas I see it most predominantly is the need and a shift or focus to a certain extent in trade-based education and work. So creating those flows from your public schools to your point, to your technical schools, to your community colleges. I actually ironically was just talking to a personal vendor yesterday who's doing some work at my house, and he was talking about how his son is graduating today as we speak, is going to go to Seminole State and wants to continue in dad's flooring trade business. And so he's getting his business education at Seminole State and is going to work alongside dad to continue to grow and build these businesses that we have to have, in our local community. I think when we start talking about, from one juxtaposition of space and AI and kind of high tech skilled labor, but equally as important, and I think people kind of forget this, is that ecosystem of differently skilled. I say not that it's they call it unskilled. I don't believe that to be the case. Differently skilled labor and in the trades, and we certainly transact trade businesses every day, all the time. So there's a lot to be had there.
It's a very good point. Mentioning the trades, people can get a degree now or certification and can be something like nursing on the RN, which it requires a 4-year degree. But LPN, you can get you can learn how to be a plumber, a welder, and it pays very, very well. I mean, these plumbers, I know because I'm paying them. So, and welders and others, they're making well over $100,000 a year. Then you grow those companies, and as you know better than anybody, they sell for 8 or 9 times earnings in the market. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up because you don't have to have a college degree to be very successful in the business enterprise supporting these industries. So,
For sure.
trade schools are very important. And the legislature has made that a priority to putting more money into trade school training. So I think that's a very smart idea.
I do too. I tell my daughters all the time, I'm like, if you told me you wanted to go to trade school, I would be wildly supportive of that. So we'll see if I have some budding plumbers or electrical engineers at the Jalbert house. So we'll see. But well, Dick, thank you so much for your time. I think, we could chat all day, but we'll have to do a part 2 and continue to peel the onion back. But I appreciate your time. As always, I appreciate your mentorship and your support of Align.
Well, thank you very much. So when we started talking about economics, I said the only thing I know about economics is what Will Rogers said. And Will Rogers said the difference between a recession and a depression. A recession is when your neighbor loses his job. Depression is when you lose your job. So but the good news, the economy is good in Central Florida and throughout Florida, and we invite the growth in Florida.
Lots of growth. Thank you, sir. I love that. All right. Well, thank you again so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.